have pity on a passion. We imply you.
Mr. You must make a choice before you. In the meantime, we tacitly ignore you. When they have chosen to, that means to take total thing and give and 20 to them. Enjoy the 25th day.
With pleasure, no party con condicente. For the
when daylight is fading, and round in the shade, with soft serenade, we sing and we sleep. With soft serenade, we sing them to sleep. With soft serenading, we sing them to sleep. We're
My goodness, this indeed is simple rudeness.
he? Where are the halberdiers who have had the honor of meeting us here, that our visit to the Grand Inquisitor might be made in becoming state?
Your Grace, the halberdiers are mercenary people who stipulated for a trifle on account.
Oh, how tiresome. Well, let us hope that the Grand Inquisitor is the blind gentleman. And the band, who would have had the honor of escorting us. I see no band.
Your Grace, the band are sordid persons who require to be paid in advance.
Oh.
That's so like a band.
Innumerable difficulties meet me every turn.
But surely they know His Grace.
Exactly, they know His Grace.
Well, let us hope that the Grand Inquisitor is a deaf gentleman. A cornet pistol would be something. You do not happen to possess the accomplishment of tootling like a cornet pistol.
Alas, no, Your Grace. But I can imitate a farmyard.
I don't see how that would help us. I don't see how we could bring it in.
Could not help us in the least. We're not a parcel of graziers come to market. Don't.
Oh, my love, our sweet feelings. Be so good as to ring the bell and inform the Grand Inquisitor that His Grace the Duke of Placidoro, Count Matadoro, Baron Picadoro, and sweet have arrived at Venice and beg,
Desire.
Demand.
and demand their orders.
Your Grace has one to command.
I felt sure of it. I felt sure of it. And now, my love, shall we tell her? I think so. And now, my love, prepare for the magnificent surprise. It is my agreeable duty to reveal to you a secret which should make you the happiest young lady in Venice.
A secret?
A secret which for state reasons it has been necessary to preserve for 20 years.
When you were a prattling babe of, 6 months, 6 months old, you were married by proxy to no less a personage than the infant son and heir of His Majesty, the immeasurably wealthy King of Barataria.
Married to the infant son of the King of Barataria? Was I consulted? Then it was a most unpardonable liberty.
Oh, consider his extreme youth and forgive him. Shortly after the ceremony, that misguided monarch abandoned the priestly forefathers and became a Wesleyan Methodist, of the most bigoted and persecuting type. The Grand Inquisitor determined that the innovation should not be perpetuated in Barataria, caused your smiling and unconscious husband to be stolen and conveyed to Venice. A fortnight ago, the Methodist monarch and all his Wesleyan court were killed in an insurrection. And we are here to ascertain the whereabouts of your husband and to hail you, our daughter, as Her Majesty, the reigning Queen of Barataria.
Your Majesty.
It is at such moments as these that one feels how necessary it is to travel with a full band.
I, the Queen of Barataria? But I've nothing to wear. We're practically penniless.
That point does not escape me. Although I'm unhappily in straitened circumstances at present, my social influence is something enormous. And a company to be called the Duke of Placidoro Limited is in course of formation to work me. An influential directorate has been secured, and I shall myself join the board. After a long.
Am I to understand that the Queen of Barataria may be called upon at any time to witness her honored sire in process of liquidation?
The stipulation is not exempt from that drawback. If your father should stop, it would of course be necessary to wind him up.
But it's so undignified. It's so degrading. A grandee of Spain turned into a
army, he led his regiment. He occasionally led them into action. He invariably led them out of it. In enterprise of martial kind, when there was any fighting, he led his regiment from behind. He found it less exciting. But when away his regiment ran, his place was at the foro. Then celebrated, cultivated, cultivated, noble, and the Duke of Blasfemo. In the first one, always light heart, you always come at night. Then celebrated, cultivated, cultivated, noble, and the Duke of Blasfemo. When to evade destruction's hand to hide, it all proceeded. No soldier in that gallant band hit harm as well as he did. He lay concealed throughout the war, and so preserved his foro. Then unaffected, undetected, well-connected warrior, the Duke of Blasfemo. If he doubted he always took the lead. Then unaffected, undetected warrior, the Duke of Blasfemo. When told that they would all be shot unless they left the service, that hero hesitated not so marvelous his nervous. He sent his resignation in, the first of all his foro. Then very knowing overblowing easy going better than the Duke of Blasfemo. To make the first to play, he always showed the way. Then very knowing overblowing easy going better than the Duke of Blasfemo. Then very knowing overblowing easy going better than the Duke of Blasfemo.
Yet it is logical enough.
you do not say you did not love me.
I loved you with a frenzy that words are powerless to express. And that but 10 brief minutes since.
Exactly.
My own, that is until 10 minutes since, my own. My lately love, my recently adored. Tell me that until, oh, say, quarter of an hour ago, I was all in all to thee.
I see your idea. It's ingenious. But don't do that.
There can be no harm in reveling in the past.
None whatever. But an embrace cannot be taken to act retrospective.
Perhaps not.
We may recollect an embrace. I recollect many. But we must not repeat them.
Then, let us recollect a few. Oh, Castilda, you are to me as the sun is to the earth.
Quarter of an hour ago.
About that.
Didn't think that but for this miserable discovery you would have been my own for life.
Through life and death, a quarter of an hour ago.
How
royalty. And a very nice little lady, too.
Jim, isn't she?
Distinctly Jim. Allow me. Naughty Templar.
You must make some allowance. Her Majesty's head is a little turned by her access of dignity.
I could have wished that Her Majesty's access of dignity had turned it in this direction.
Unfortunately, if I am not mistaken, there appears to be some little doubt as to His Majesty's whereabouts.
A doubt as to his whereabouts. Then we may be saved.
A doubt? Oh dear, no, no doubt at all. He's here, in Venice, plying the modest but picturesque calling of a gondolier. I can give you his address. I see him every day. In the entire annals of our history, there is absolutely no circumstance so entirely free from all manner of doubt of any kind whatever. Listen, and I'll tell you all about it. I stole the prince and I brought him here, and I left him gaily prattling with a highly respectable gondolier who promised a loyal babe to rear and teach him the trade of a time or near with his own beloved prattling. Both of the babes were strong and stout, and considering all things clever, but that there is no manner of doubt, no probable possible shadow of doubt, no possible doubt whatever.
No possible doubt whatever.
But owing I much disposed to fear to his terrible taste for tippling, that highly respectable gondolier could never declare with a mind sincere which of the two was his offspring dear, and which the royal stripling. Which was which he could never make out, despite his best endeavor. But that there is no manner of doubt, no probable possible shadow of doubt, no possible doubt whatever.
No possible doubt whatever.
Time sped, and when at the end of a year I sought that infant cherished, that highly respectable gondolier was lying a corpse on his humble bier, I dropped a grand inquisitor's tear. That gondolier had perished, a taste for drink combined with gout had doubled him up forever. Of that there is no manner of doubt, no probable possible shadow of doubt, no possible doubt whatever.
No possible doubt whatever.
The children followed his old career, this statement can't be parried, of a highly respectable gondolier. Well, one of the two will soon be here. But which of the two, it is not quite clear. Is the royal prince you married? Search in and out and round about, and you'll discover never a tale so free from every doubt, or probable possible shadow of doubt, or possible doubt whatever.
A tale so free from every doubt, or probable possible shadow of doubt, or possible doubt whatever.
Without any doubt of any kind whatever. But be reassured, the nurse to whom your husband was entrusted is the mother of the musical young man, who is such a past master of that delicately modulated instrument. She can, no doubt, establish the king's identity beyond all question.
Heavens, how did he know that?
My young friend, a grand inquisitor is always up to date. His mother is at present the wife of a highly respectable and old established brigand who carries on an extensive practice in the mountains around Cordoba, accompanied by two of my emissaries. He will set off at once for his mother's address. She will return with them, and if she finds any difficulty in making up her mind, the persuasive influence of the torture chamber will jog her memory.
But bless my heart,
frequently occur. Life is one closely complicated tangle. Death is the only true unraveler. Try we life on, we can never straighten out life's tenuous gate. Why should we in vain endeavor? Guess and guess and guess again. Life's a pudding full of plums.
There's a cake that becomes.
Life's a pudding full of plums.
Here's a cake that becomes. Wherefore waste our elocution on impossible solution?
Life's a pleasant institution. Let us take it as it comes. Let us take it as it comes. Set aside the colony, we shall guess before too soon. May our race of kindness take it all. Bring the fire, bring the cup, there's some sorrow we should solve. Hop and skip, let's stay on hands across the love and middle. Lies perhaps the only riddle, let me shrink a million. Lies perhaps the only riddle, let me shrink a million. Then take it as it comes, take it as it comes. Bring the fire, bring the cup, there's some sorrow we should solve. Take life as it comes. ceremony of some sort going on.
He is an undertaker. No, a little unimportant family gathering. Nothing in your line.
Somebody's birthday, I suppose?
Yes, mine.
And mine.
And mine. And mine.
Curious coincidence. And how old may you all be?
It's a rude question, but about 10 minutes.
Remarkably kind children. But surely you are jesting?
In other words, we were married about 10 minutes since.
Married? You don't mean to say that you are married?
Oh, yes, we are married.
What? The both of you?
All four of us.
Bless my heart, how extremely awkward.
Well, you don't mind, I suppose.
You were not thinking of either of us or yourself, I presume. Oh, Giuseppe, look at him. He was. He's heartbroken.
No, I wasn't. I wasn't.
Now, my man, we don't want anything in your line today, and if your curiosity is satisfied, you can go.
You mustn't call me your man. It's a liberty. I don't think you know who I am.
Not we, indeed. We are jolly gondoliers, the sons of Baptista Palmieri, who led the last revolution. Republicans, heart and soul, we hold all men to be equal. As we abhor oppression, we abhor kings. As we detest vainglory, we detest rank. As we despise effeminacy, we despise wealth. We are Venetian gondoliers, your equals in everything. Except our calling, and in that at once your masters and your servants.
Bless my heart, how unfortunate. One of you may be Baptisto's son for anything I know to the contrary. But the other is no less a personage than the only son of the late King of Barataria.
What?
And I trust it was that one who slapped me on the shoulder and called me his man.
What about others?
But which is it?
What does it matter? As you are both Republicans and hold kings in detestation, of course you'll abdicate at once. Good morning.
Oh, don't do that!
Well, as to that, of course, there are kings and kings. When I say I detest kings, I mean I detest bad kings.
I see. It's a delicate distinction.
Quite so. Now, I can conceive of a king, an ideal king, that creature of my fancy, you know, who would be absolutely unobjectionable. A king, for instance, who would abolish taxes and make everything cheap, except gondolas.
And give a great many free entertainments to the gondoliers.
And set off fireworks on the Grand Canal and engage all the gondolas for the occasion.
And scramble money on the Rialto among the gondoliers.
Such a king would be a blessing to his people. And if I were king, that is the sort of king I would be.
So would I.
Come, I'm glad to find that your objections are not insuperable.
Oh, they're not insuperable.
No, they're not insuperable. Oh,
Besides, we are open to conviction.
yes, they are open to conviction. Oh, they've often been convicted.
Those views may have been hastily formed on insufficient grounds. They may be crude, ill-digested, erroneous, or I have a very poor opinion of the politician who is not open to conviction.
Oh, he's a fine fellow.
Yes, that's the kind of politician for my money.
Then we'll consider it settled. Now, as the country is in a state of insurrection, it is absolutely necessary that you assume the reins of government at once. And until it is ascertained which of you is to be king, I have arranged that you shall reign jointly, so that no question can arise hereafter as to the validity of any of your acts.
As one individual.
As one individual.
Like this?
Something like that.
And we may take our friends with us and give them places about the court.
Undoubtedly. That's always done.
I'm convinced. So am I.
Then the sooner we're off, the better.
We'll just run home and pack up a few seats.
Stop! That won't do at all. Ladies are not admitted.
What?
Not admitted. Not at present. Afterwards, perhaps. We'll see.
Why, you don't mean to say you're going to separate us from our wives?
This is very awkward. only for a time, a few months. After all, what's a few months?
But we've only been married half an hour. I'm saying that not as a hope I like to part from those to whom an hour ago we reunited. Before flowing hopes you still, I'll look at them and pray for you till it's all united. You men can never understand that heart and hand cannot be separated when we collide. Now they will be pleased to recognize, and now they will be
ascertain which is the king and which the other. To Baratarius' court I'll bring his lost dumb mother. First former nursling to declare she'll be delighted. That's settled. Let each happy pair be reunited.
Viva! This argument is strong. Viva! Will not be parted long. Viva! It will be settled soon. Viva! Then comes our honeymoon. Viva! Viva! Viva!
She'll drive about in a carriage and pair with the king on her left hand side, and in oak white horse as a matter of course, whenever she wants to ride, with beautiful silver shoes to wear upon her dainty feet, with endless stocks of beautiful frocks, and as much as she wants to eat.
Oh, tis glorious thing I mean to be a regular royal queen. Go up and up and there, I mean now up and there, a regular royal queen.
Whenever she condescends to walk, be sure she'll shine at that.
we object to pavilions and palaces? How can they respect our Republican fallacies?
For everyone who feels inclined, suppose we undertake to find continue with this frame of mind, and all shall equal be. The Chancellor admits Farouk, the Earl of Marquis, and the Duke, the Groom, the Butler, and the Cook, they all shall equal be. The aristocrat who ranks recruits, the aristocrat who hunts and shoots, the aristocrat who cleans our boots, they all shall equal be. The noble lord who rules the state, the noble lord who cleans deprived, we're left to act in perfect unity. Whom you can order right, or left with absolute impunity. Who put their subjects at their ease by doing all they can to please. And lost to earn their bread and cheese is every opportunity. And lost to earn their bread and cheese is every opportunity. React in perfect unity. Reacted in perfect unity. Our happiness, the very beginning, very Italian, you may sing. A monarchy that's ever been republic and equality. Republic and equality, tempered with equality.
Gentlemen, we are much obliged to you for your expressions of satisfaction and good feeling. I say we are much obliged to you for your expressions of satisfaction and good feeling.
We urge you.
We are delighted at any time to fall in with sentiments so charmingly expressed.
That's all right. At the same time, there is just one small grievance we should like to ventilate.
What?
Still armed, it's not serious. It is arranged that until it is decided which of us two is the actual king, we are to act as one person.
Exactly.
Now, although we act as one person, we are in point of fact two persons.
I don't think we can go into that. It's a legal fiction, and legal fictions are solemn things. Situated as we are, we can't recognize two independent responsibilities.
No, but you can recognize two independent appetites. It's all very well to say that we act as one person, but when you supply us with only one ration between us, I should describe it as a legal fiction carried a little too far.
Oh, it's rather a nice point. I don't like to express an opinion offhand. Suppose we reserve it for argument before the full court.
Yes, but what are we to do in the meantime?
We want our tea. Oh, I think we may make an interim order for double rations. On their Majesty's entering into the usual undertaking to indemnify in the event of an adverse decision.
That, I think, will meet the case. But we must work hard. Get to it. Nothing like work.
No, certainly. We quite understand that a man who holds the magnificent position of king should do something to justify it. We are called Your Majesty. We are allowed to buy ourselves magnificent clothes. Our subjects frequently nod to us in the streets. The sentries always return our salutes. And we enjoy the inestimable privilege of heading the subscription lists to all the principal charities. In return for these advantages, the least we can do is to make ourselves useful about the palace. Rising early in the morning, we proceed to light the fire. Then our Majesty, adorning in his workman's gay attire, we embark without delay on the duties of the day. First we polish off some batches of political dispatches and foreign politicians circumvent. Then if business isn't heavy, we may hold a royal levy or ratify some acts of parliament. Then we probably review the household troops with shallows and shallows, or receive a ceremonial and state, and interesting feast and potentate. After that we generally go and rest on private valley. It's rather nervous to be he's a country little man. Write some letters literary for our private secretary. He's shaky in his feelings, so we doubt that if we can. Then in view of cravings dinner, we go down and order dinner. Then we polish the regalia and the coronation plate. Spend an hour in titivating, all our gentlemen in trading, before we run a little errand for the ministers of state. Oh, philosophers we sing of the troubles of the king, yet the duties are delightful and the privileges great. But the privilege and pleasure that we treasure beyond measure is to run a little errand for the ministers of state. Oh, philosophers may sing of the troubles of the king, yet the duties are delightful and the privileges great. And the privilege and pleasure that we treasure beyond measure is to run a little errand for the ministers of state. for luncheon, making merry on abundant class from sherry. There be nothing in particular to do. We may make a proclamation or a scheme an amputation, then we possibly create a peer or two. Then we help a fellow preacher on his path with the garter or the thistle or the path. Or we dress in London's heavy stage to a festival, a function, or a fete. Then we go and stand a sentry at the palace pride, and everybody get a flooding dealer up and down and to and fro. While the warrior on duty goes in search of fear and beauty, and generally it happens that he hasn't far to go. He relieves us if he's able, just in time to lay the table. Then we dine and serve the coffee, and then 1:12 with a pleasure that's in fact, we retire to our attic with the gratifying feeling that our duty has been done. Oh, philosophers may sing of the troubles of a king, for the pleasures there are many, and of worries there are none. And the culminating pleasure that we treasure beyond measure is the gratifying feeling that our duty has been done. Oh, philosophers may sing of the troubles of the king, but the pleasures there are many, and the worries there are none. And the culminating pleasure that we treasure beyond measure is the gratifying feeling that our duty has been done. Yes, it really is a very pleasant existence. They're all so singularly kind and considerate. You don't find them wanting to do this or wanting to do that or saying, it's my turn now. Nope, they let us have all the fun to ourselves. They never seem to grudge it.
It makes one feel quite selfish. It almost seems like taking advantage of their good nature.
How nice they were about the double rations.
Most considerate. There's only one thing wanting to make us thoroughly comfortable.
And that is?
The dear little wives we left behind us 3 months ago.
Yes, it is dull without female society. We can do without everything else, but we can't do without that.
And if we have that in perfection, we have everything. There is only one recipe for perfect happiness.
Take a pair of sparkling eyes, hidden ever and anon in a merciful eclipse. Do not heed their mild surprise, having passed the Rubicon. Take a pair of rosy lips. Take a figure trimly planned, such as admiration wears. In particular in this, take a tender little hand, which with dainty fingerets press it, in parenthesis. Take all these, you happy man, take and keep them if you can, take all these, you happy man, take and keep them if you can, Take a pretty little cot, quite a miniature affair, hung about with trellised vine. Furnish it upon the spot with the treasures rich and rare I've endeavored to define. Live to love and love to live, you will ripen at your ease, growing on the sunny side. Fate has nothing more to give, you're a dainty man to please. If you're not satisfied, take my counsel, happy man, act upon it if you can, take my counsel, happy man,
to do they get when you're so funny?
With the horse do they equip you?
And the trumpet they get drilling.
Do the royal troops continue?
Name and livery is coming.
Does a human being interfere on everything that we see?
Even one would irritate to shoot cups and vices. We shall book the one requesting till you tell us never doubt that everything is interesting. Tell us all about it.
They shall both go on requesting till you tell them never doubt it. Everything is interesting. Tell us all about it.
We shall book the one requesting till you tell us never doubt it.
Everything is interesting. Tell us all about it. Everything is interesting. Tell us all about it. Everything is interesting. Everything is interesting. Tell us all about it. Tell us all about it. Tell us all about it.
This is indeed a most delightful surprise.
Yes, we thought you'd like it. You see, it was like this. After you left, we felt very dull and mopey, and the days crawled by, and you never wrote. So at last I said to Janessa, I can't stand this any longer. Those two poor monarchs haven't got anyone's read their stockings, sewn their buttons, or patched their clothes. At least I hope they haven't. Let's all pack up a change and go and see how they're getting on. And she said done, and they all said done. And we asked Josh Porter, then Mrs. Bowden, and he said done, and we crossed the sea, and thank goodness that's done. And here we are, and I'm done.
And now, which of you is king?
And which of us is queen?
That we shall know until nurse turns up. But never mind that. The question is, how shall we celebrate the commencement of our honeymoon? Gentlemen, will you allow us to offer you a magnificent banquet?
We will!
Thanks very much. And ladies, what do you say to a dance?
A banquet and a dance, oh, it's too much
Fancy ball?
No, not exactly. A little friendly dance, that's all. Sorry you're late.
But I saw a groom dancing, and the footman,
Oh, yes, that's the Lord High Footman.
and dear me, a common little drummer boy.
Oh, no, that's the Lord High Drummer Boy.
Surely the servants' hall is the place for these gentry.
Dear, no. We have appropriated the servants' hall. It's the royal apartment. and accessible only by tickets obtainable at the Lord Chamberlain's office.
We really must have some place that we can call our own.
I'm afraid I'm not quite equal to the intellectual pressure of the conversation.
You see, the monarchy has been remodeled on Republican principles.
What?
All departments rank equally, and everyone is at the head of his department.
I see.
I'm afraid you're annoyed.
Oh, no, I won't say that. It's not quite what I expected.
I'm awfully sorry.
So am I.
Oh, by the by, can I offer you anything on your voyage? A plate of macaroni and a rusk.
No, nothing.
Obliged to be careful?
Yes, gout. You see, in every court there are distinctions that must be observed.
There are there?
Why, of course. For instance, you wouldn't have a Lord High Chancellor play leapfrog with his own cook.
Why not?
Why not? Because a Lord High Chancellor is a personage of great dignity who should never, under any circumstances, place himself in the position of being told to tuck in his tuppenny, except by noblemen of his own rank. A Lord High Archbishop, for instance, might tell the Lord High Chancellor to tuck in his tuppenny, but certainly not a cook, gentlemen, certainly not a cook.
Not even a Lord High Cook?
My good friend, that is a rank that is not recognized at the Lord Chamberlain's office. No, it won't do. I'll give you an instance in which the experiment was tried. There lived a king, as I've been told, in the wonder working days of old, when hearts were twice as good as gold, and 20 times as mellow. Good temper triumphed in his race, and in his heart he found a place for all the erring human race, and every wretched fellow. When he had relished wine to drink, it made him very sad to think that some at junket or at chink must be content with tardy. He wished for men as rich as he, and he was rich as rich could be. So to the top of every tree promoted everybody.
Now that's the kind of king for me. He wished for men as rich as he. So to the top of every tree promoted everybody.
Lord Chancellors were cheap as rats, and bishops in their shovel hats were plentiful as tabby cats. In point of fact, too many. Ambassadors cropped on high cake, prime ministers, and such as they grew like asparagus in May, and dukes were 3 a penny. On every side, field marshals, queens, more near the Lord Lieutenant Dean, with admirals the ocean team, all round his wide dominions. And party leaders you might meet in twos and threes in every street, maintaining with no little heat their various opinions.
Now that's a sight you couldn't meet. Party leaders in each street, maintaining with no little heat their various opinions.
That king, although no one denies, his heart was of abnormal size, yet he'd have acted otherwise if he had been acuter. The end is easily foretold when every blessed thing you hold is made of silver or of gold. You long for a simple pewter when you have nothing else to wear but cloth of gold and satins rare. For cloth or gold you cease to care. Up goes the price of shardy.
Of shardy, up goes the price of shardy.
In short, whoever you may be, to this conclusion you agree. When everyone is somebody, then no one anybody.
Now that's the way that they can be. To this conclusion we agree.
When everyone is somebody. And now I have some important news to communicate. His Grace, the Duke of Plaza Toro, Her Grace, the Duchess, and their beautiful daughter, Casilda. I say, their beautiful daughter, Casilda,
We heard you.
have arrived at Barataria and may be here at any moment.
The Duke and the Duchess are nothing to us.
But the daughter, the beautiful daughter, oh, you're a lucky dog. One of you.
I think you're a very incomprehensible old gentleman.
Not a bit. I'll explain. Many years ago, when you, whichever you are, were a baby, you, whichever you are, were married to a little girl who has grown up to be the most beautiful young lady in Spain. That beautiful young lady will be here to claim you, whichever you are, in half an hour, and I congratulate that one, whichever it is, with all my heart.
Married when a baby?
But we were married 3 months ago.
One of you, only one. The other, whichever it is an unintentional bigamist.
Well, upon my word!
Who are these young people?
Who are we? Why, their wives, of course. We've just arrived.
The wives. Oh dear, how unfortunate. Dear, dear, this complicates matters. Dear, dear, what will Her Majesty say?
And do you mean to say that one of these monarchs is already married? And that neither of us will be a queen?
That is the idea I was intending to convey.
Tessa, my dear, dear child.
Get
it is
away!
a-
Perhaps it's you!
My poor, poor little woman.
Don't! Who knows whose husband you are? And pray, why didn't you tell us all about it before they left Venice?
Because if I had, no earthly temptation would have induced these gentlemen to lead to such extremely fascinating and utterly irresistible little ladies.
There's something in that.
I may mention that you will not be kept long in suspense, as the old lady who nursed the royal child is at present in the torture chamber, waiting for me to interview her.
Poor old girl. Hadn't you better go and put her out of suspense?
No, no. There's no hurry. She's all right. She has all the illustrated papers. However, I'll go and interrogate her. And in the meantime, may I suggest the absolute propriety of your regarding yourselves as single young ladies? Good evening.
Well, here's a pleasant state of things.
Delightful. One of us is married to 2 young ladies, and nobody knows which. The other is married to one young lady whom nobody can identify.
And one of us is married to one of you, and the other is married to nobody. But which of you is married to which of us? And what's to become of the other?
It's quite simple. Observe. 2 husbands have managed to acquire 3 wives. 3 wives, 2 husbands. That's 2/3 of a husband to each wife.
Ah, Mount Vesuvius, here we are in arithmetic. My good sir, one can't marry a vulgar fraction.
Oh, you've no right to call me a
We
vulgar
are
fraction.
getting rather mixed. The situation isn't tangled. Let's try and comb it out.
Solve the
present a unique example of an individual who becomes a single man and a married man by the same operation.
I have known instances in which the characteristics of both conditions existed concurrently in the same individual.
He couldn't have been applause at all.
Oh, couldn't he, though?
Well, whatever happens, I shall of course be a dutiful wife, but I can never love my husband.
I don't know. It's extraordinary what unprepossessing people one can love, if one gives one's mind to it.
I loved your father.
My love, that remark's a little hard, I think. Rather cruel. Somewhat uncalled for, I venture to believe.
It was very difficult, my dear. But I said to myself, that man is a duke, and I will love him. Several of my relations bet me I couldn't. But I did. Yes. On the day when I was wedded to your admirable sire, I acknowledged that I dreaded an explosion of desire. I was overcome with panic, for his temper was volcanic, and I could dare behold, but I knew the one to hold. I was always very wary for his fury was ecstatic, his refined vocabulary most unpleasantly emphatic. To the thunder of his daughter, I knocked under like a martyr. Well, intently he was fuming. I was gently unassuming. When reviling me completely, I was smiling very sweetly. I was smiling very sweetly, It became the feeling of hostility, not the very worst. That is how I tried to take your composure at first. It became the very fascinating, not the very worst. That is how I tried to take But I found the reliance of my friends in appearance, and a resolute defiance of their interference, and a gentle intimation of my firm determination to see what I could do, to be my love. Was the only thing required for to make his temper suffer, and he couldn't have desired a more reciprocated couple and ever willing to be. We were building. When I really broken parted, we were nearly broken-hearted. When in secret reunited, we were equally delighted. We were equally delighted. So with double shots of guns and colors filled to the mast, like Jacob insignificant progenitor in the last. So double shots of guns and colors filled to the mast, like Jacob insignificant
I only hope is that when my husband sees what a shady family he is married into, he will repudiate the contract altogether.
Shady? A nobleman shady who is blazing in the luster of unaccustomed pocket money. A nobleman shady who can look back upon 95 quarterings. It is not every nobleman who is 95 quarters in arrear. I mean, who can look back upon 95 of them. And this just as I have been floated at a premium. Oh, fine.
Your Majesty is surely unaware that directly your Majesty's father came before the public, he was applied for over and over again.
My dear, Her Majesty's father was in the habit of being applied for over and over again, and very urgently applied for too, long before he was registered under the Limited Liability Act. To help the happy commoners and add to their enjoyment, a force of men of champ colonels presented and second-rate aldermen knighted.
Is alderman knighted.
Foundations still laying, I find that in paying it adds a large sum to my making.
Large sum to his making.
At charity dinners, the best of speech spinners, I get 10% on the taking.
1/10 of the takings. I present any lady whose conduct is shady, or smacking of doubtful propriety.
Doubtful propriety.
When virtue in Russia, I take it whitewasher and launch her in first-rate society.
First-rate society.
I recommend acres of clumsy dressmakers, their bit and their finishing touches.
Their finishing touches.
A sum in addition they pay for permission to say that they make for touches.
They make for the touches. Those pressing prevailers, the ready-made tailors, cook me as their great double barrel.
The great double barrel.
I allow them to do so, though Robinson Crusoe would jeer that they're wearing apparel.
Wearing apparel.
I see my selection upon the direction of several companies' bubble.
All companies bubble.
As soon as they're floated, I'm freely banknoted, I'm pretty well paid for my trouble.
He's paid for his trouble. At middle-class party, I play a party, and I'm by no means a beginner.
Not the beginner.
To one of my station will leave a relation, 5 guineas a night and my dinner.
And wine with her dinner.
I write that is blatant on medicine's patent, and use any other you must.
Believe me, you must.
And vow my complexion derives its complexion from somebody else, which it doesn't.
It certainly doesn't. We're ready as witness to anyone's fitness to fill any place of preferment.
A place of preferment. We're often in waiting at junket or baiting, and sometimes returned an interment.
We enjoy an interment. In short, we kindle the spark of a splinter bursting into your clutches, into your clutches. All who drink and dinner, you cannot do better.
The trot out a duke or a duchess.
A duke or a duchess. Their Majesties. Oh, Your Majesty.
The Duke of Blascoro, I believe.
The same. Allow me to present
The young lady one of us married.
Gentlemen, I'm the most obedient servant of all of you.
I am now about to address myself to the gentleman whom my daughter married. The other may allow his attention to wander if he likes. For what I'm about to say does not concern him. Sir, you will find in this young lady a combination of excellences such as you would search for in vain in any young lady who had not the good fortune to be my daughter. There is some little doubt as to which is the gentleman I'm addressing, or which is the gentleman who is allowing his attention to wander. But when that doubt is solved, I shall say, still addressing the attentive gentleman, take her, and may she make you happier than her mother has made me.
Sir!
If possible. Now, there is a little matter in which I think I'm entitled to take exception. I come here and speak with her Grace the Doctor, and Her Majesty my daughter, and what do I find? Do I find, for instance, a guard of honor this evening? No. No. The town illuminated? No. No. Refreshments provided? No. No. A royal salute fired? No. No. Triumphant arches erected? No.
No.
The bells set ringing?
No.
Yes, one. The visitors, and I rang it myself. It is not enough, gentlemen. It is not enough.
Upon my honor, I'm awfully sorry, but you see, I was brought up in a gondola, and my ideas of politeness are confined to taking off my cap to my passengers when they tip me.
That is all very well in its way, but it is not enough.
I'll take off anything else within reason.
But the royal salute
don't know our people. They wouldn't stand for it.
Oh, they're very offhand with us, very offhand indeed.
Oh, but you mustn't allow them. You must keep them in proper discipline. You must impress your court with your importance. You want deportment, carriage,
Oh, we've got to carry it.
manner, dignity. There must be a good deal of this sort of thing. I don't know you, I don't know you, I don't know you.
I do not know you, I don't know you, I don't know you, I don't know you, I do not know you.
And just a little of this sort of thing. Saw you in the park, anytime you're passing.
chickens together. That's called tact.
Very awkward. You really ought to tell her how we are situated. It's not fair to the girl.
Then why don't you do it?
I'd rather not. You.
I don't know how to begin. Madam, we, that is, several of us.
Gentlemen, I'm bound to listen to you, but it is right to tell you that not knowing I was married in infancy, I'm over head and ears in love with somebody else.
Our case exactly. We're over head and ears in love with somebody else. In point of fact, with our wives.
Oh, wives? Think you are married? It's not our fault. We knew nothing about it. We are sisters in misfortune. My good girls, I don't blame you. Only before we go any further, we must really arrive at some satisfactory arrangement, or we shall get hopelessly complicated. He's the president, here our king, he is born. Ever since Moses first the head, never was known a case so hard.
let the loyal lieges gather round. The princess foster mother has been found. She will declare to silver clarion sound the rightful king. Let him forthwith be crowned. Thank you.